so it looks like everything's back up and running again. Sorry about that. That's okay. Those things happen. So when you try to broadcast to multiple destinations, sometimes they don't always play nice. So we'll be just fine. All right. So looking out west of my view here, those storms coming into the western sides of the metro look pretty good. I mean, they're healthy thunderstorms. So I got a chance to put the old camera to use every now and then. And once they get closer, I'll be able to see any bases that come in, and we get like a picture of the wall cloud, or if there's a funnel or anything like that. Hopefully not a tornado, but regardless, that's kind of the view I've got out there right now, which I'll get to occasionally go take a peek at. 76 degrees here in my backyard, and winds are out of the south, a little bit of a southeastern direction. So that's interesting. All right, let's go back to the radar here. So we're looking at that storm in Guthrie. This is the one on the north side of town here that's had some circulation with it. The probability of a tornado is up around 65%. So that's quite a bit higher than it has been over the last few minutes. So it continues to increase in intensity. And usually when this happens at some point here, there is going to be a tornado warning that'll be issued once we can get confirmation with the velocity structure of the radar. Or we get a storm spotter that has something. All right, so the severe thunderstorm warning continues to about 7 o'clock. Another 10 more minutes for that one. The radar indicated tornado's possible. That's the tag on it. In other words, it's not a tornado warning. It's just this is an early heads up just in case something were to happen. Okay, so that's this guy up here, north of Langston, northwest of Langston, moving north of Guthrie. So we can take a look. Jeremy was on this feed here. So he's still there. This is his live shot now, and he's got a nice hill blocking the structure, but once he gets back into position, there you go, we kind of make out what's happening in that area. So we'll be able to get his shot pretty soon once he gets into a good position, and we can take a look at the wall cloud structure and then whether or not he's got a funnel or anything. So once we get the clear picture of that, we'll bring that to you. And then Chance, let me see, his feed's been up and down because he's been in and out of cell coverage. He's, I believe, heading out toward Mustang. So here's his live feed. So he's still en route to get to a spot. So those two guys are up and running. Let's see, let's move that over there. Let's see here. And then these guys, once they get up and running, we'll take a look at them as well. So let me load up. Okay. So keep Jeremy's going. Oh, good. He got into a position right there, looks like. All right. So it looks ugly. Looks scary. A lot of this is going to be scud, updraft, pulling in moisture and condensing it. So that can sometimes be mistaken for what could be a wall cloud. But we'll wait as he gets a little closer. And we kind of hang out and watch. All right, so let's go back to the radar view. Let's go to the one that's southwest Oklahoma City, coming into Mustang. So this one, still not quite where it needs to be. Let's see, there was a report of golf ball size hail that came out of it right in Minco. So that's an official measurement from the an inch and a half also. So an inch and a half and 1.75. They were probably sitting next to one another, and they were probably arguing who's got the bigger hailstone. But regardless, so there's some near golf ball size hail in there, and this is South Union City. The storm itself, the structure actually looks really good on radar reflectivity. So which means is it could be getting to that position where it's going to try to produce a tornado. Right now it's only at 14% of the probability scale, and the wind speeds are, one thing's interesting is that the RFD isn't as strong as it was, so that's calmed down. And now that can allow a better circulation to take shape over time once that position takes to effect. So let's do this. Let's switch radar sources, and because I want to see a little closer of this storm and to measure those winds a little lower in the atmosphere. So we're going to do this a couple different ways. So we're looking at the terminal Doppler weather radar, which is very close to it. The reflectivity still has that look of RFD, so let me go to this guy here. Yeah, outflow dominated still. The wind speeds though aren't all that strong. They're right around 35, 36 miles per hour. So that's come down quite a bit. Remember at one point it was like close to 60. So even though it's still RF dominated, which means rear flank dominated, so in other words the more stable air that comes out of the south end of this storm is going to prevent traumatic development. Even though that's still in place, the winds are getting weaker and weaker for that. In other words, it's losing that momentum. And that would allow potentially for it to reorganize and then take better intake into the storm and then get a better circulation feature going. Now, that all takes time, so it's not imminent. It could take 10 minutes, it could take 20 minutes. You have to sit here and kind of watch it. Anyway, however, regardless, that's moving into the Oklahoma City metro area. So we don't want that to happen, right? We don't want that process to take shape. Because if it does, it's going to move into the greater metropolitan region of Oklahoma City as a wall cloud / funnel / potential tornado. We don't want any of that. But we got storm trackers on it, so we'll see here in a minute. New data came in. It did get a 2-inch hailstone right next to the guy that said it was an inch and a half. So, like I said, not sure. One of those is accurate. All right, let's see here. Langston, one up here. Probability of a tornado is 67%, so we'll still hang it up there on the high end. Velocity is just linear at this point. Let's take a look at the wind shear. Is probably linear as well. Yeah, that's this kind of blob you see here that's up and down. That's linear convergence. So you see that on a radar map of people going, there it is, there's your circulation. That's a lot of nonsense. And when it's in this phase, that's nowhere near accurate. We can look at the gate-to-gate shear, which is where the winds would come together tighter, and we would look for that particular signal. We don't see that here. So it's just a linear convergence zone of wind, so it's not a traumatic threat at this point in time yet. So that's watching as it comes into Langston. So that's a good idea in Cole. So right now, that's the way that looks. It's a good strong storm. It's just it's kind of similar to one down south. Little RFD, rear flank downdraft, not so much of an intake to produce a nice wall cloud structure in developing tornado. So both of these haven't quite matured to that level. So that's good news. So back down south, again, this one here looks pretty good. Coming in the Tuttle area, keep an eye on that one. Gracemont and Anadarko, just standard thunderstorms all the way down to Cache. Back into southwest Oklahoma to Davidson. No big deal with those, not even worth talking about. So if you live down here, you're worried about it, don't worry. It's standard thunderstorm in Oklahoma. What we're concerned about here is anything that would produce enough rotation at the lowest levels to produce a tornado. That's what I'm concerned with. All right, so So the Weather Service just had to read their discussion saying the exact same thing I did about there's just nothing yet to indicate a tornado is imminent. But because of the better structure of the storm, the hail threats come up a little bit as it comes into the metro. So they're watching this one, talking about this one down here in Minko. So they're going to keep the severe thunderstorm warnings going. In other words, no tornado warning. Probability of a tornado, by the way, is at 30% on this southern storm, so it's starting to get a little bit better. Now the reflectivity structure is getting catching my eye a little bit better here on the development of the hook echo. So on this particular radar view. So let me go to a couple of the other ones. I like to look at many when we're kind of trying to do this here from different stages. Okay. Let's go to this guy. It's occluded so far. That would be the area to watch. It's like in this little blue zone. But otherwise, nothing there. And then the terminal Doppler weather radar. Okay, so not only is it watching that area we talked about, but it actually put a TVS, which stands for tornado vortex signature. So its beam width is a little more narrow, so it sees a bit better fine resolution, fine detail, and it's a little faster updates than the other NextRad radars. So it's got what is trying to develop here is a potential tornado, but it's not at this point in time. It's coming west of Tuttle, but we're at that point where you have to watch this one. This is right along State Highway 37, just east of County Road 2870. So about 2.5 miles to the west northwest of Tuttle is where that's located. So this is the little hook echo, the little storm that's be working its way in toward the Mustang area here soon. Okay, it's wrapping up a little bit better on this little back end right here. This is the area of interest I'm looking at for the circulation feature within this. So this would be the developing tornado circulation spot. It can happen at any moment. Just the data looks a lot better. So it's 34 mile per hour inbound, 26 outbound. We're on the danger side right now, basically seeing a little brief tornado within this. Location, Brahms Road and West Silver City Ridge Road. So that's where this little developing tornado would be located, which is about 2.5 miles northwest of Tuttle. So let's see here. So in this particular case, should this be developing to a quick tornado, obviously the scroll at the bottom will tell you what to do. This being the center part of your home, lowest level, away from all outside walls and windows. Put sporting gear stuff on the kids for protection from any flying debris, etc. So this is pretty close to producing a tornado warning. So we'll go back also to the north. It looks like the one up here has produced a funnel. Someone said they saw a funnel. Now, in this particular case, it's not going to be in, well, if it's in Langston, it's on the leading edge, almost like a Gus Natal type deal. But odds are, be back here, the north and west of Langston. That's where the center of the circulation is. So I'm not sure where the report came from. But they claim there was a funnel there. Probability of a tornado is at 73%, so that's pretty good. Let me see if Jeremy's picture is still up on that. So we'll go is, let's see. All right, so he's looking at that area. There's nothing there at this point. So that's good. But there's a tornado warning in effect due to that report, whether it's solid or not. This one down here in Tuttle has got my attention as well. It's strengthening quite a bit. Let me take a look at the terminal Doppler weather radar again. Yeah, really good couplet on the inbound here. Outbound a little weak, so it's trying. If it did that brief moment, and then it's struggling. So we'll see what happens with that one. Let me go back to the Langston one here to the north. Yeah, there's just nothing on the velocity that says anything that's too worrisome. All right, that's good. But okay, so where's the deal? Tornado warning, you never discount it. All right. So let's get you the path, time of arrival, all that kind of stuff. So let's go over here. The warning criteria here, moving to the northeast at 44 miles per hour. Radar indicated potential tornado, hail up to the size of golf balls. Stillwater, Yale, Glencoe, Quay, Lake Carl, Blackwell, and Ingalls all in the path of this particular storm. What would be the tornadic signature, for example, would be Stillwater about 7:19, Yale 7:45, Merrimack at 7:50, and Jennings almost at 8 o'clock. So that's the latest on that particular storm there. Always be in your shelter for a tornado warning. Even if one's not cited, the warning is there for your safety. It's for a reason. Just be glad it's not anything confirmed where you've had eyeballs on the ground saying it's happening and it's doing some damage. So be glad that it's, at this point, still rotation in the sky, but not at the ground level. So the one down here in Tuttle, they are going to issue a tornado warning for this, as we talked about, and for good reason. We already kind of talked about the circulation center with that. Unfortunately, it's going to put it right in the Oklahoma City metro area, so that's going to mean that the greater Oklahoma City metro is going to have to seek shelter from a tornado warning. Mustang here coming up in just a couple of minutes. Oklahoma City 7:35, Valley Brook 7:36, Dale City 7:41. So you can see it's going to go basically over the central and south sides of town. So passing north of Newcastle, and the circulation center could come toward the Moore area. Right now it's on a path that takes it just north of there, but sometimes these storms will rotate to the right, and when that does happen, then that changes their trajectory. So here's a look at my NOAA weather radio just went off, so it went off for a tornado warning, even though I'm not in the path. It went off for Oklahoma County. So this goes till 7:45. This tornado warning issued for Oklahoma City, Moore, Dale City, Newcastle, Yukon, Bethany, Mustang, War Acres, The Village, Tuttle, Nichols Hills, Valley Brook, Woodland Park, and Smith Village. All right, so with all that said and done, okay, so where's this thing located? Well, we'll go back to the terminal Doppler weather radar, and it looks like it's located right about, let's go to North Gregory Road, intersection of West Tyler Drive, between there and West Silver City Ridge Road. So that is where this potential tornado is located. So that'll be working its way toward the northeast, so passing over the Mustang area, just on the south side of town, right? And then running right along 152, and then eventually kind of split there on 44 between 152 and 240, going right into, again, Oklahoma City metro region. So the wind speeds have come up, so the data is getting a little bit stronger in this particular location. So confidence is building that a developing tornado is located here. So let's go back to this radar here. Let's do this one. All right, we will put this guy on here so we can track this for you in a little bit bigger font. All right. So the circulation center is passing the north side of Tuttle by about 1.5 miles. All right. So that's where that is located. West Silver City Ridge Road right now is the main kind of east-west road that this thing is going to run on for a little bit, and that's just past North Gregory Road. So it just passed there. So this is the official tornado warning coming into the Oklahoma City metro area. And this particular storm is moving to the northeast. It's at about 30 miles per hour. Has some hail with it, of course, lightning, all that kind of stuff. So I've had a couple of storm chasers in the area. So let's go see what Chance has with this one. He's been in and out with coverage, and he was heading toward that one. So we'll see if he's arrived. So here we are. So he's looking at it now. So let me chat with him. Chance, do you have anything on this tornado warning storm? So you can see the eerie blue hue to it with the light differential and the refraction of the sun coming in the back end of the storm. This is the rain shaft here on the right side of your picture. Let me see what else we got.
Hey Tuttle, I'm 1.5 miles north of 37 on Highway 4, and this thing is HP. It's all wrapped in rain.
Okay, thank you. Just keep me abreast. All right.
I just sent you messages. I'm 1.5 miles north of 37 on Highway 4, and it's wrapped in rain. I don't see any definition of anything in there.
Okay, so Chance has got the best view he can get, and unfortunately, the area of rotation is back here in this little region. The reason why I say unfortunately, because he can't see it. So in other words, if the tornado is located here, you're not going to see it because it's within this rain shield, right? It's surrounded in rain. So this is one of those deals that storm spotters aren't going to be able to help out, and this is where you just kind of have to look at radar data and kind of go from there. Now right now, the radar data is a little weaker, a little more broad on the 88D. So in other words, the signal is not quite robust, tightened up, all that kind of stuff. Let me go back a couple frames. It never really was there though. So let me see how the terminal Doppler radar looks. It's still pretty robust. It's got that better beam width resolution, so it still looks like it's a triadic circulation center. So let me. I'm going to do this. I'm going to turn this off. I'm going to turn on this guy. Okay, so we're going to use the terminal Doppler weather radar, which, by the way, is the radar that I work on at my day job for the FAA. So we're using this radar here to track this triadic circulation. So let me flip over to storm relative. All right, so this is the location where it's at. It has a little TVS signature with it. That stands for tornado vortex signature, and it gives you the velocity data, 58, 59 knots. So the circulation is about 1-2 miles still outside of Tuttle, right along East Silver City Road. Earlier we had it just east of, I think it was a Grant or something. I need to get another road in here for you. Some of these roads will show up. There's North Richland, and then some of them don't. There's North Richland Road. There we go. Gotta get right on there sometimes. So that's the location, the intersection. That'll be coming up on North Frisco Road. So that's the location outside of Tuttle where this tornado is located. Let me see if I can get an estimate on the strength. No, let me do this. No. So that is actually weakened a bit. Okay. Quick look at the Langston storm. Just make sure nothing up here has changed. No, it's still, this storm is not well structured for tornadic development yet. So they're still warning up here, still stay in your shelters, guys in Stillwater. I'm not dropping you, I'm just saying right now, there's nothing on radar to indicate there's anything on the ground at this point in time. So just stay in your shelters. I'll check on this back and forth every now and then. Probability of tornadoes dropped about 60%, so it's down just a little bit from where it was before. So that's good. All right, this guy here coming in, again toward the Mustang area, this particular tornado warned storm, TVS. There, it's got a little bit better velocity data now on this guy than it had before. But it's a low end EF0, EF1 type strength on the algorithms, and it's pretty broad, at least on this radar view. This guy here, let's see, some range folding. Let me go up. Wrong one. There we go. You know what? Let's do it this way. Okay, that one's updating. While that updates, go back to this guy. Alright, so I think it's occluded and diminished. This is just false data there. So I don't see the same couplet look that we had before on that radar view. Let me look here. At a degree off, yeah, it's the convergence zone is right here, but the strength of both the inbound and outbound a little bit weaker than they were before. Not by much. Let's see. So here's the probe. So this is 38 inbound and 38 outbound. So you're looking at a EF0 type tornado strength. Weather Server just mentioned the rotation southwest of Stillwater is broadened a bit, meaning there's still no immediate tornadic signature on radar, but the tornado warning still holds. So stay in your shelters. And there's been no confirmation of this tornado because no one can see it, so it's wrapped in rain. So the radar presentation we just have to go with. So we'll just assume that there's still a tornado back into this rain shielded area. Now let me go to the cities here, or the streets. Fieldwork Road is just south of this little Fieldwork Road, which runs kind of southwest to northeast, and that's just above that East Silver Ridge Road now. All right, and that's North Frisco Road, so that's putting it in that little quadrant. So we're looking here. All right, and this is our red and green couplet. This is where the red and greens come together. This is where your tornado is located. And so that's where we're going to kind of track. Now, in theory, this would actually die off, because the problem is it's completely rain wrapped from before, and when that happens, the time it can stay alive is usually pretty short. So, for example, let's say, okay, so just got a new update. Yeah, it's gone. So I was going to show it to the old circulation center, but it's gone. That's fine. What I was going to say was, once you kind of get this rain shroud around your area of circulation, you've cut off all the outside influence of warm air. In other words, warm air can't get back in to this part of the storm. So it just gets stuck in this rain-cooled air itself, and it kind of gets cut off. It needs fresh air to breathe, and it's just not getting it. So usually when you get a tornado like that, they don't last long, and they usually have to be really large to last for any length of time in that environment before they kind of spin down. All right, so that's some good news here briefly for the Oklahoma City metro areas. This particular tornado-warned storm is moving into Oklahoma City. Probability of a tornado is at 92%. So that's the highest we've seen so far. Now, of course, we did think it did produce a tornado for about, 5 minutes there for a while as it passed to the northwest and northeast of Tuttle. That signature is no longer present in the velocity data, but it's still a nice hook reflectivity structure. So it's still a storm to watch, and it can always generate another tornado. Doesn't take much at this point once it gets to this phase, this state, until it starts to weaken, right? So that's what we're watching for. Down the line, again, just some storms, not a big deal. We only have the one here in Oklahoma City Metro, and then we have the one up here northeast of Langston coming into Perkins, south of Stillwater. Stillwater, you get the hail from this one. But on the velocity data, it doesn't look good at all. I mean, it looks pretty benign for tornadic conditions, but still, there's a tornado warning, so stay in your shelters if you live up here in Payne County for about the next, I think it's 15 minutes. 15 to 30 minutes. I think it ended at 45 after. So kind of most of our focus, for good reason. If you guys are wondering elsewhere across state, hey, what about me? What about me? It's not going to be about you, only because there's nothing to tell you about your spot. It's just a storm. If you're getting rain, you're getting rain. No big deal. What we're focused on is this one coming in toward Oklahoma City Metro, not because it's in Oklahoma City, but because it's the only one that's actually produced a tornado, at least on radar. And it's the only one that still looks like it still could, if things get a little bit better organized. Algorithms are also up high. They're peaked out. They were 92%, now down to 91%.
Just to let you know, I'm at 134th and Santa Fe, creeping north.
Okay, do you have your feet up? All right, so at this point in time, let's take a step back here.
No, sir, not yet. I've been having video problems with it all day. As soon as I can get into a good position where I have a clear shot of it, I will start it up and let you know. I may have to do it old-fashioned and just use my Samsung Galaxy.
All right, thanks, Andrew. All right, so another one of our chasers getting in position for the storm coming in out of the Mustang area as it heads into southwest parts of the metro. All right, still checking out the data within this, reflectivity, velocity data. It's nice, good Supercell storm. It's pretty potent, pretty stout. Let me take a look here upstairs.
just be advised, traffic is really thick, so if it takes a little bit for me to respond back to you, that's what's going on.
So you can see the hail. It doesn't have really, the hail's not all that big. You've got this little spot here of purple. That's some golf ball size hail. Little spot. Otherwise, most of the hail is below that size. Storm's good. It's about 50,000 feet tall in elevation. Let's see, rotation area. Let's take a look at that. So this is the rotation column of the thunderstorm, right? So this would be where your tornado is generated out of. Here's a surface spot here, and it trails up diagonally. This is the mesocyclone. This is the spot of the storm that rotates. So the column of air that rotates, when we say low-level rotation, we're talking about down here at the bottom. When we say mid-level rotation, we're talking about this spot right here. And then you can have upper-level rotation, but that's nothing, doesn't mean anything. A lot of storms have upper-level rotation. So that's kind of how you can break down, in this particular product, the area of spin in the atmosphere. That's going right pretty close to the river there, to the county line. All right, so that's kind of a neat little feature we can look at. Just kind of give you an idea of what that, looks like. All right, let me go to this guy as well. Same kind of idea on the velocity data. Now this all happens to be wind speeds in one direction, not two directions, which is good. Let's go to, for the strength, it's off. Like one side is so much stronger than the other doesn't even show up on the screen. And I want uniform. I want equal winds on equal sides. I don't have that. But this is the column here. So it would be, this is the voided region between these two colors going up in the atmosphere. So the red and the green. And it starts at the surface, and then we look for it to go up. And right now it's not congealed or tightly co-located. All right, that's enough of that for now. Let me see if I can see this coming in. Okay, let's see if Chance has his up. No. Jeremy still has his for the Langston storm. So he's back in repositioning phase. So he's going to stay with that one as it works its way south of Stillwater. And then Chance is going to stay with this storm coming in to the metro side on the southwest. So you guys in Stillwater are still probably getting the hail. So here's Chance set up. I'll tell you this, one of the problems is there's so many chasers that it crowds the cell phone signals, and that's why you get a lot of that buffering that you see. It's gotten worse. It's so much worse than it was back when I was chasing 9 years ago on my last storm chase. And now it's just a nightmare. But it is what it is, because everybody does a lot of streaming now. Let's see. So he's watching that area of the storm, which was the rain-wrapped region. He's watching for like the new mesocyclone formation that would be on the outer edge of this. So this is one area here. There'd be another area back here that would rotate around. So he's as close as you can get. You don't want to be any closer than that.
I got my live feed up temporarily before I need to move to a different location. I am in between 119th and 134th currently.
Okay. Alright, so we'll keep Chance's video up. So here's Andrews. Look out to the west side. So he's going to look at that little area. So Chance and him are looking at the same region, but from different viewpoints. But right now, on the outside, there's nothing to highlight. I just pulled up your feed. Thank you, sir. Let me know if you see anything. All right. Okay, so let's go back here, Stillwater here real quick. You guys, the hail core is south and east of you by about 3 miles as far as anything significant. Talking anywhere between an inch to golf ball size. Rotation's just not there, which is great news with this one. The storm is rotating in the mid-levels, just not the lowest levels, so it's a good, strong supercell storm, but that's all it is at this point in time. The tornado warning, let me see here. Any updates on this? Let's see. Remains in effect till 7:45 for, right now it'll be central and eastern Payne County. Let's see here. Still moving northeast at 40, and just radar indicated rotation. And we really didn't even see that in the last 10 minutes. Locations include for the storm itself: Stillwater, Yale, Glencoe, Quay, and Ingalls. So no news to pass along. You guys up there, I'm watching it, but so far, just stay in your shelters until it moves through. But at least breathe easy. Back here in Mustang, the radar is, we're just talking 10 miles to its east, so it's going to have a really good view if anything comes out of this, and right now it's not. Probably a bit of a tornado, though, still hanging pretty high, 78%. That's just because it still has residual low-level rotation with it, even though it is, in many areas, it's kind of scattered out here and scattered out here. So it's broad, irregular, not confined. It's nothing imminent, so to speak. Let me do this. Oh, I know why. Let's do this. A little hail core here up 44, coming up to the 40 split for that. So might get a little bit of a golf ball size hail within this particular area. So let me go back up here. It's so we're talking Southwest 23rd Street. Of course, there's 44 coming up on Southwest 15th, and bordered by, it looks like Southwest 29th. So that's where your little hail core is going to be moving through the city. All right, but back here to the southwest, this little hook area coming to Regina Drive, and approaching, is that Rockwell? Yeah, South Rockwell, and Cedar Crest and Regina Drive. All right, so that's southwest of the airport by a couple of miles. This is the old Hook Echo region, which had the at one point pretty good circulation center in it, but now not anymore. We'll see if anything develops out of this, but right now, not the case. I am watching this little spot right in here, just to see, but right now I'm not excited about that either, because really what we should be watching for is some new rotation spin up, a little vorticity on this quadrant, and then kind of wrapping back into this region. That's what we should be watching for at this point. So maybe something spinning a little bit, and then kind of wraps up here on the northern side, then gets going in this zone. The radar data is right there. I just don't see anything. There was a curious report of an observer at Will Rogers Airport seeing a tornado about 15 minutes ago. And that's old data. I don't know if you could have seen that far out, but at that point in time, it may have still been producing, but that was a long time ago. All right. I'm not sure you could have seen that with all the rain, but these reports, unfortunately, there was a hack in the Storm Spotter database revealed last week from Arkansas that puts a lot of these reports in question.
Southbound on 177 to intercept the storm coming through Oklahoma City right now.
Gotcha. Thanks for hanging with that northern one. It looked good there for about 5 minutes and then lost its structure. So that was Jeremy. He was chasing that Stillwater storm, and because it's kind of falling apart, he's going to come back into the metro and get this one as it passes through the east-northeast side of town. So he's staying close to home, in other words. All right.
Agreed. Yeah, and the chaser convergence up there is getting pretty maddening. So yeah, I wanted to drop off. I'll update soon.
All right. So he mentioned chaser convergence, which is another problem these guys have to go through. Said storm chasing used to be kind of fun, and you're just you and the open road in a storm. That's not the case anymore. Those days are over. All right. Rotating wall cloud. A couple minutes ago to my west. So he's looking back in the area that there was some weak convergence. So that report is with a grain of salt at this point. All right. So anyway, so there was a hack in the database, and it was so bad they fooled the National Weather Service into issuing a tornado emergency, which is only issued when a damaging tornado is going through a populated area doing damage, like widespread damage, significant damage. And of course, they just assumed the report was real because we had been using this network for a long time, and there's protocols in place typically that people follow, to not be, fake people. But we had somebody want to game the system and have some fun, and so they sent quite a few fake reports last week, and it triggered some false tornado warnings, and that's a bad deal. If you can't trust these reports, and now you get bogus warnings, that causes a loss of trust and faith in the system, right? Both from your end to the National Weather Service, and then from their end to the storm chasing community. So the whole thing's a convoluted mess. So luckily, supposedly anyway, they found out who that did it. They were from out of state, and there was no reasons given other than the fact they caught them and through their IP address tracking, and they banned them from the system. But who's to say there's not more than one, or who's to say that person can't just do another account and do the same thing again? So I don't know. It's a mess right now. So you got to kind of be careful of that. But that's why I think the Weather Service is going to be a little hesitant on some of these reports. They want to do some double verification checking so they don't get bit, because that's not a good place to be. All right, so still watching this guy. I mean, I can hear the tornado warnings in the background, the distance over Oklahoma County City. We're watching an area that at one point had a small tornado with it, looked like maybe an EF0, possibly an EF1. It was on the low end. Way back when it was north of Tuttle. Haven't had anything since. It's been fairly quiet, but the storm itself is still rolling through. Probability of a tornado is at 76%, so let me go to that and show you. It's going to be affecting the southern end of the metro, so not like if you live in Edmond, etc., you're fine. Probability of a tornado is 76%, like we mentioned. Here is the details on the tornado warning. Let's see, moving to the east at 29 miles per hour. This goes for another 15 minutes. Still includes the rest of Oklahoma City, Moore, Del City, not Newcastle anymore. Well, I guess technically still on the north side. Let's see, Bethany, Mustang. Well, some of these, the immediate threats move past you. Nichols Hills, Valley Brook, Smith Village. So we can put a little track here for the areas you can ignore. The back end of this. So let's see, that's Moore 743, Del City's at 752, Midwest City 757. So this is where the residual area of the tornado is going. So Weather Service is still saying what I was saying, is they're still seeing a low-level convergence. Now convergence is different from rotation into which tornadogenesis happens. Convergence is common in a lot of these setups. So the convergence is fine. You don't mind the convergence. It's when it becomes tightly wound rotation, that's when you have a problem. And then that quickly becomes a tornado. So we could go through, honestly, over the next at 7:30-ish, we could still go through the next half hour. This thing clears the metro and not produce a tornado. That'd be great. So unfortunately, we're at this stage. We just kind of have to watch it because if it reorganizes into that phase, then it can do that. Right now, it's not for it to happen. How far away are we? It's hard to tell right now. It's pretty disorganized, like very disorganized. So we'll see. It could be 5 minutes. It could be 10. It may not happen at all. We'll sit here and just watch it, though. That's all we can do. And look at the trends. So right now the trend is flat. It's not one direction or another. I can show you what we're talking about when we mentioned the wind shear azimuth. And I think I'm going to have to switch data sources. I will. So let's do that. Let's see if this will pick it up. So we got various radars that we can look at.
Let me know if there's anything confirmed on the ground. I'm having trouble getting some good visibility or clear slots to see very far.
All right. So in this particular case, so we're watching the front end. We're zoomed in to where the old hook echo is, this little spot here. It's filling in. It's becoming very disorganized. But this little spot right here is where you have the max convergence. So this is where we have our azimuthal wind shear and the radar products highlighted. That's this little spot right here. Does that mean there's a tornado there? No, not at all. It just means that's the max shear in the atmosphere where you can get those little spins that do pick up and get developed there in that region. If we look at what we call the gate-to-gate shear, in other words, we actually have two gates of the radar data, one and one, side by side, with wind going in one direction, wind going the other. That doesn't even exist. It's not even on this radar. So in other words, the product is 0. There's nothing there. So that's good. So both of these are fine. Standard protocol. Let's see here.
I'm at 89th and Santa Fe, Southwest 89th Santa Fe. Got upward rising motion, very low clouds. We got some very strong upward motion. Just now moving into the city.
Okay. So he's on 89th. So he's looking due west. So when he said upward motion, that's that region I was talking about. And he's at Santa Fe, so I was trying to find his exact location on the map. So he's right here. And he's looking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 miles to his west to look at this zone to see if there was anything. And all he's got is upward motion that he talked about. So if we go, let's see if his feed was up. It was up earlier. Yeah, it's ended now. He was up earlier. All right, let's see. So Jeremy's in pursuit, back toward the metro. Chances down right now for the moment. Or is he up? No, he's up, but he's getting in, relocating. Okay. So he's got to drive through rain to get back in position. And so this is Andrew on the southwest side of town. So he's watching that leading edge of, really it's just a kind of a RFD wall of wind with no rotation characteristics with it yet. He's watching this little updrafts of scud that come up. And that's the little spot I showed you on radar a minute ago. So you watch for these to see if they ended up kind of spinning and then get pulled into the system a little bit better. And right now it's pretty slow motion. It's not even anything rapidly rising. So it's just a little updraft, a benign, at this point, stage. Alright, so that's a good little visual verification. Let's go back to the radar here. Alright, so yeah, this is... storm really fell apart. So a new warning is going to come out and include Oklahoma City Metro only, and not because there's been a tornado sighted. It's just because this is a leftover of the storm. This is a CYA in case something were to happen, and to be in your shelters just in case, because we still have at least 30 minutes for this thing is out of here. So at 8:15 is when the expiration date of this new tornado warning, moving to the east at 29 miles per hour. So the radar indicated potential tornado. So again, not confirmed, nothing sighted, nothing like that. Hail size still up to about golf balls. Most of these warnings, all the hail has been around an inch to at most golf balls. Locations: Oklahoma City, Midwest City, Del City, Choctaw, Harris, Spencer, Jones. Nakoma Park, Valley Brook, Tinker Air Force Base, New Walla Forest Park, Lake Alum, and Smith Village. All right, do we have a track on that? I think we do. So let's do, is it this one? Let's see. Let me try this one as well. Yeah, either way, either one of these will work. There's double tracks from different areas of the storm. We'll just take this one. Valley Brook 7:45, Del City 7:51, Midwest City 7:56, and after 8 o'clock as we head toward Choctaw, Hara, and McLeod for this particular circulation center. So let's hope that that's all this one is as it works through the south sides of the metro. But you want to be in your shelters for this particular case. You can hope it doesn't reproduce the tornado, and that's fine. But regardless, the same principles apply. It's the lowest floor, away from all outside walls and windows. Put as many walls between you as you can from the outside. So it can be bathroom, it can be closet, it can be staircase. You can get a mattress to cover you if that's the case. You can also get sporting gear for the kids, like the pads and the helmets and stuff, blankets, anything like that. Look at the helicopter shot. Looks like rising scud. There's a wall cloud, but it looks like rising scud there on that shot. Yeah. So that's fine. Let's see what the radar data shows. Let's see here. So radar data, nothing to it at this point in time, so that's good. So we're looking west of Valley Brook. This is where you have convergence, not tornadic circulation, but convergence. It's in this little yellow line right here. It's in this little region, and it's just an enhancement of shear. In other words, air that's doing this in opposite directions, but on a linear scale, very broad and still weak. That's not tornadic, but that would be kind of a zone to watch in case something were to change. Let's see here. So these little numbers here indicate time of arrival, for example. So this will be up to the 35 out of Valley Brook here at about 4 minutes from now, 44 after the hour. Back west from there, let's see, South Shields Boulevard, Western Avenue over the next couple of minutes. This is just north of 240, so it's running right along, let's see, is it 59th? Yeah, it's running right along Southwest 59th Street. Moving to the east, heading up toward 35 here in a minute. So staying south of downtown, staying south of 40, north of 240. Again, this is not a confirmed tornado. This is just a slightly disorganized supercell storm that has some hail with it, and it's got a lot of scary looking clouds. Probability of a tornado is at 61%, so it's dropped from its peak of 92. When it was producing a tornado, it ramped up to 92%. Now it's not so much. All right, your biggest hail core is right here on the split of 40 and 35, just south of that intersection. And you're going to have some golf ball size hail in that. So that'll do a little bit of minor damage to roofs and cars, that kind of deal. So on a supercell storm, if we were to draw kind of the outline shape of it, which looks something kind of like this, your big hail is always usually going to be kind of in this corner here, your biggest hail, and sometimes you'll get a secondary patch of hail down in this region, but usually, definitely for sure, your biggest hail is in that one little spot. And then we always watch this little hook echo area for the tornado in this little region. Then everywhere else is just a mixture of rain and or wind, and then sometimes some hail and lightning, that kind of deal. All right. Let's go switch gears here. So this storm in Amber is getting its act together. So let's go take a look. And this one down here in Elgin is getting its act together. They're both trying to get that hook echo appearance. So let's go down and talk about them. First off, you guys in Stillwater, completely disorganized. storm. It just never produced a tornado as far as any confirmation goes. Radar never indicated either. So no confirmations. That's good, but just stay in your shelters in Payne County. The tornado warning will be expiring here in just a couple of minutes. All right, and then of course we got the one going through Oklahoma City metro area, but right now again no tornado with that yet, and it may not. We're still watching. And then down here southwest of Bridge Creek and Amber, let's take a look at this one. Some hail core here, about 3 miles north of Amber, about 3 miles east of Pocasset. Let's see, it does have some outflow wind there. Nothing exciting yet on the whole convergence side for tronic circulation, so that's good. Okay, let's go back down here. Elgin, southwest of Fletcher. Some hail with that in a little purple area. Otherwise, in its infancy, nothing screaming tronic issues at this point in time. This is north of Lawton. All right, so but these two will bear watching. The southern probability of a tornado is 7%. This one here in Amber is 40%. So the one in Amber's got a better opportunity. And honestly, I think what we have here is a little problem in that this blow off of Amber, right, coming in and messing. All right, so took a hit on the old live feed. How's it look on Facebook, etc.? All right, so I don't know what's going on, the hiccups for the social media platforms today. But if you're having a problem with one, you can always go to the other. I've been on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. So if one's not working, try the other one, and vice versa. There's 3 to pick from to see, make sure that the audio is lined up. You might have to refresh your browser, so try that first, or your phone, whatever, and then or close it, open it back up. If that doesn't do it, try a different feed, see if that works. Because I don't want to go off if I've got at least 3 of them working, or at least 2 out of the 3. Okay, so let's see here. Probability of tornado still 61%. Okay. All right, so we're kind of watching this supercell storm going through the south sides of Oklahoma City. It's got some hail with it, typical heavy rainfall, all your normal standard storm activity in a supercell storm. We've had some wind. We've had a historically, we had a weak tornado with it at one point as it was coming in and around the Tuttle area. Has not produced anything since then, but the tornado warning continues all the way up through Choctaw on the east side of Tinker. So that will be the case, just in case it does decide to try something. So the Payne County, let's take a look at that one. That warning, the old warning expired, and I think they're going to issue a new one to be safe. Let's see here. Yeah, they did. They just reissued another one to keep it going until 8:30. Not because one was cited. It's just because it's a supercell storm. It's an environment that's somewhat conducive. They could have just used a severe thunderstorm warning and put the tornado tag back in it. But since it's had a history of having a tornado warning, it's difficult to go back and forth, right? It's easier to keep it as the one, even though one has not happened or been confirmed or cited. So again, you're staying underneath this cluster here for a while. The back edge of this is northwest of Ripley, where the circulation, if you want to even call it that, let's take a look. I mean, it's the old guess forecast track, but it's what is that, South Rose Road and East 44th Street in Payne County, just northwest of Ripley, southeast of Stillwater. So that's where that, if you want to call it a circulation center, that's where it's located. That's the center of the storm track. They're going to put it for this storm. And we shall, as it gets into closer into Tulsa's area, we'll switch radar views to see if we can't get a better look at it. Right now, that's where that's located. All right, so again, we got the storm in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma County, with a tornado warning on it. But even though there's not currently a tornado on radar and or detected visually, data just right now just doesn't show it at this point in time. So we'll just kind of watch it, but that's good. Keep it that way. Back down to Bridge Creek, this little guy here, its probability of a tornado is now at 20%. But it also does not have really any good circulation with it. Just some standard convergence. I'm telling you, this is really good. I mean, this is really not that bad of a deal, guys. I mean, it's trust me, this is a better outcome than the other. Having this issue where they just can't quite organize. That's great. Let's see here, the Fletcher storm. Let's take a look at it. Same idea here. Just nothing quite substantial on the circulation side, but just kind of a gradual increase in intensity. It's 12% probability. All right, so that's it. Those are our three main storms, or I should say four if you include the Stillwater, east of Stillwater storm. So let's go back here to this guy. Alright, I can still hear the tornado sirens going off in the distance, even in my house. So, okay, that's a good point I want to bring up. And when you hear the tornado siren, alright, the tornado sirens are to be used as a last resort, okay? They're mainly for people that are outside and are completely oblivious, right, to the weather. This is a, hey, I know you may not have been paying attention, but there's a storm in the area, and it may or may not be producing a tornado. All right, that's a pretty broad, generic signal for you to hear. But what it's to do is to get your attention, so that then you go and seek information and or seek shelter, because that warning could be covering or going off those sirens for, say, South Oklahoma City, and you're in Edmond and you hear that. That does not mean for you to take shelter in Edmond. They're not designed that way. Their design is just to, hey, pay attention. There's something out there, somewhere nearby. May not even be your city, your town, maybe the one next door, one over, all right? Also may not mean that there's an actual tornado. It could be just for the tornado warning, or it could be somebody thought they saw something and issued. So there's different ways that is used, and everybody kind of has their own policies on when they sound a siren. But regardless...
Alright, I'm calling my chase. It's looking really menacing. Have a good evening, man.
All right, thanks, Jeremy. Appreciate it. All right, so Jeremy had to make the call to drive from Arcadia, Luther area through all this mess to get to a storm that's not producing a tornado, or just call it and head to the house because it's getting dark, right? Here, let me show you. Move this over here a little bit. See a little sunset coming through? So it's gonna be a nice little sunset here in the next few minutes. All right, so there you go. There's a nice little sunset looking out to the west. Man, clouds make for some great sunsets. All right, so back to the radar here. Okay, so we're looking at toward the Valley Brook area. The circulation, it's not really one, but if there was to be one, would be located here. That's just the position of the reflectivity of the hook, which is why this is plotted down. Let's see. So let's go. This is Southeast 44th Street with the intersection of South Madera Boulevard. So this is where that rotation area, if there were to be one, would be located, coming up on South Bryant. Now that said, if we look at the data, nothing there, which is good. So what they do is Weather Service just tracks either the upper level circulation, if there is one. So let's go take a look. And not really. So the second thing is they just track where, if a tornado is most likely to happen, what area of the storm would it be, and they put the centroid there. So that's how they kind of make those tracks. The probability of a tornado is now down to 39%, so it continues to decrease. So this is all good news, guys. It's been nothing but good news ever since it's moved out of the Tuttle area. All right, let's go back to the south one here for Blanchard. Middleburg, this one has the best opportunity to do something, but right now it is in a linear look to it, like this. Remember, it needs to be more into a hook, like a fisherman's hook. So it's got a ways to go before it looks like it does anything. There's a little, let's see. Yeah, there's some convergence on the tip of this. That's about it. And let's see here. All right, so what happened was that algorithms can't even separate these two storms anymore. So this is the ring that estimates the probability of a tornado, and it is now encompassing two supercells. 1, 2. But because they're not separated, it conjoins them and issues a probability for the both into one. I'm telling you, this guy here, this guy here is being influenced by this guy. So that's good. And influenced in a negative way, meaning robbing it of its joy, robbing it of its ability, robbing it of its structure, robbing it of a lot of things. All right. Still looking good on that sunset. Look at that. Now, I'm at a rain, well, I'll say rain cooled. I mean, it's rain in the area, so I guess technically that's sort of accurate. I got a few sprinkles, and that was it. But I have a dew point of 66, man, and a temperature of 70. So I am humid, moist, and sticky. South wind around 15. All right. The tornado warning, okay, so tornado warning expired, or was canceled, rather, up here in Stillwater. So they canceled it. They said, man, we can't even find anything up there. So they said, why? Keep it going. So you guys in Stillwater and Payne County and Jennings and Hallett and Oilton and Yale, Pawnee, Cleveland, you're all good for now. Probability of a tornado has dropped to 16%. So it's done nothing but weaken the entire time. Once it got east of 35, it was on a slow diminishing trend to nowhere's land. Stuff back here, southwest Oklahoma is still going. If you like standard variety thunderstorms, some of these have a little more lightning than others. The only two storms, and they're joined at the hip, that have any potential at all are these ones here, moving through the Oklahoma City metro area. And the north side is being influenced by the south side, which has killed the inflow and the structure and the instability. We shall see if this can stay out just ahead of it. If the inflow of this one can stop, the influence I should say, and not affect this influence coming in here, this one will try to re-intensify as it gets on the east side of town. So that's what's trying to happen. The two need to separate a little bit more and to give this one a fighting chance at trying to produce a tornado. This little hook appendage here is what we'd watch for regenesis, right? And that's over the Tinker Air Force Base right now. Now the rotation with it is still almost non-existent, but there's the Air Force Base that we're watching, and this is the hook echo. So this is the area of interest that we're keeping an eye on. So it won't do it over the base. It still needs more time. But that's the region. So if you at Tinker, you should be able to look up and see a wall cloud, and you should probably see some really slow rotation. It's about all you'll be able to see with that. So we'll see what happens with that. Let's see here, Blanchard. So this one is starting to nose out right here a little bit more. Let's see what it does on the winds. Inbound. Yeah, so it's not quite doing anything yet on the winds. It's just structurally, it's still trying to organize. It's got a long ways to go. All right, let's go back to the terminal Doppler weather radar, and let's get a close-up view of this guy here. This is that little hook echo developing, or trying to develop over Tinker Air Force Base. And this is the velocity data with it. Nothing to write home about at this point in time. Alright, so let's zip on down. Nothing there. What about the Blanchard one? So in Blanchard right here, it does have, it's weak, but it's there. We do have our little couplet convergence in this region here for the hook. So it's starting to get that direction. So we shall see what happens with that. Okay. He's heading home. Well, he just got knocked out of position early on and just hasn't gotten out of the rain. He's close. I could see the clearing line here, so he's pretty close. He just had to come through it. Yeah, so back on 240 for the Tinker one. This little guy right here that's wrapping up around Tinker Air Force Base. I said it's probably got a nice little wall cloud to it. Probably some really slow rotation. And just saw one of the feeds, and it looked like just a little bit of a ragged wall cloud structure. So let's go back to the terminal Doppler radar for that. All right. I am at 600 feet off the ground. So a nice low level scan. Just now getting a little bit better in the wind field for inbound and outbound, but pretty broad, pretty diffuse. So it's going to still take some time for that to do anything. Okay. But the reflectivity structure is getting better. When you get this little notch, this little hardened notch, that's a really good sign usually of intensification and structure design. But I got to tell you, most hooks like this don't produce tornadoes, believe it or not. Just because you get a hook does not mean you guarantee tornado. Let's see, the probability of a tornado though, it's gone up a little bit, 58%, so that's increased some in the last few minutes. So we're watching these two supercell thunderstorms. One's potentially tornadic here in, it could be 5 minutes, could be 10, but it's getting that direction. And then we've got the one down here, Blanchard. It's probably got another 10 minutes where it can do something of significance, and that by then it would be east of Blanchard toward probably Highway 9 and 62. So those are our two storms to watch. This one would probably go tornadic before the other one would, the one that's over Tinker right now. Both these are really slow all of a sudden. It's like they just slowed down with the brakes. So what would be a potential for developing tornadic circulation is going to be running right just about over South Post Road and Southeast 29th Street here on Midwest City. So that would be the circulation center of the developing wall cloud structure. And remember, you get the wall cloud before you get the tornado. Now, unfortunately for the TV guys here, and even for me and the weather service, because we all use these their feeds to look at cloud structure and to look for anything like rotation-wise from wall clouds and funnels and that kind of deal. It's getting dark. It's 8 o'clock. There's probably about another 15 minutes worth of decent daylight. And then after that, it's going to be very difficult to see any structure at all. And by that point, then you're back to just using radar And if you're lucky to have an observation that's legitimate, but they have to be really close for that to happen, you got to work through power flashes and lightning strikes to see stuff. You know, it gets really hard to do. So you're kind of really at nighttime still reliant 90% on Doppler radar. Okay, so let's see here. It's Blanchard stuff. Just watching down here. So I'm sure it looks pretty scary down here in Blanchard if you guys look at the clouds in that area. That's all it is, scary looking clouds at this point. And the one here in the Air Force Base, still nothing right home about yet on the velocity data from that vantage point. Let's go to this guy. Nope, nothing on the Blanchard. So how does this one look? Nope. All right, let's go to this view. So I've got 3 different radars I'm pulling in from all around the metro. Some are closer than others, and they give me just different looks. So this one's the best look at this storm because it's only 300 feet off the ground. It's literally 6 miles away. But the fact that it's that close and it still sees hardly anything other than just a little convergence, not impressed. That's fine. I don't want to be impressed, right? I want to be bored to tears. I want to be able to look at this and go, nothing gonna happen. And that's what I've been doing. So we're still gonna do that for a while. All right, but that said, little recap here. This still is a tornado warning for a storm that at one point likely produced a tornado. It was never verified from storm spotters because you couldn't see. It was wrapped in rain, but the radar was pretty significant on the structure of it, so we're going to go ahead and call it that. We'll see if any reports of damage came along. It was kind of in an area that there wasn't much out there, trees and stuff, so it was north of Tuttle, about 2 miles. All right, so this guy here, let's do a little track update, etc. Okay, so if this were to produce a tornado, if this were, and it's not, at least for, it's got to be at least 5 minutes from now for it to change structurally, but to even get close to doing that, it may be 10. But anyway, here is 824, McLeod 830, Meeker 854. This is on the east side of Oklahoma City. This is coming on the east side now of Midwest City to the split of 40 and 240 and over Tinker. So that's that. The storm moving to the east. It still has 29 miles per hour, but it seems like it's slowed a little bit. Otherwise, the expires at 8:15, so a few more minutes. It's all radar indicated. Hail size at most up to about 1.5 inches in diameter. Let's see. We've had penny-sized hail. That's 0.75 reported. So haven't seen any reports of anything bigger yet come in, but there's your locations: Eastern OKC, Midwest City, Del City, Choctaw, Harris, Spencer Jones, Tacoma Park, Tinker, Dewala, Forest Park, Lake Alumna, and Smith Village. Again, just for the storm itself, like in general. All right, let's go down here to this guy. This is just a severe storm that's on the north end, or from Moore to Norman, roughly, to Blanchard, and that is moving east at 30. Radar indicated hail threat of 1.5 inches in diameter, 60-mile-per-hour winds potentially. South Oklahoma City, Norman, Moore, Newcastle, Blanchard, Noble, Tuttle, Goldsby, Bridge Creek, and Middleburg. Okay, so what you have noticed in this, and this is what I talked about at lunch, and even when I started this broadcast, we're on that marginal risk of severe weather reporting, meaning it's just the threshold for wind, which is 58 miles per hour technically, and the hail size is mostly about 1 inch. There's been a couple golf balls. There was one reported 2 inches right next to a guy that said it was not 2 inches, so I'm not sure which is right. Maybe one guy's ruler measures a little different than the other guy's ruler. So, but regardless, most of the hail has been smaller than 2 inches. It's been reported, just that one out here. So those other side of that little lone report, I haven't seen hail bigger than that or any more than that. So that's just because you don't get a report doesn't mean it didn't happen. You know, it's a whole tree fall in the woods if no one's there. But with all the storm chasers and stuff around, you think you'd get a little bit more. And some of these have been kind of more populated areas, and we're just not getting those reports come in yet. So if you do have those type of reports, you can send them to the Weather Service, or let me show you this. You can do, let's see if this guy shows them. Okay, so this is our rotation tracker. All right, we talked about this earlier on as well. So this is over the last half hour. So it shows you where the best rotation's been. So obviously a little stretch here for that new storm, and this one that was around Tuttle into South Oklahoma City, now moving through east side of Oklahoma City. This is where you have the strongest low-level, mid-level rotation within this. Okay, so this also has on here some hail reports. This is a 1, which is quarter-inch size hail. Let me go to this guy here. There's some hail reports. There's a 1, 2, 4. So 4-inch is 4 is 1-inch size hail. So there's a lot of 1-inch size hail, a lot of pea-size hail. And these are public reports like you. You go into this ping network and you call it in and go, hey, I got 4-inch size hail here around Oklahoma City, and you put your address in, you put the marker on there, and then call it good. So really haven't had much hail reports here, even in the city. So if more people can use the ping network, then you can get better reports in. So it's just another little tidbit for you. Let's see. That research radar is not running. It's too bad. Close that. All right. Man, really nice sunset. Look at that. So pretty. Alright, so the Weather Service is going to back off its tornado warning and just replace it with a severe thunderstorm warning with the, quote, tornado tag in it, which means, just in case it does produce a tornado, because it has in the past, type deal. But also, as we talked about, it's going to be going into an atmosphere that's becoming more and more stable the farther east it gets. Its best instability was just on the west side of town into the central part of town. So basically we're out where the storms are lined up now. This is the best instability axis currently. And it's happening now, but it erodes every 10, 15 minutes now. The sun's starting to set, it's getting dark, and these temperatures are going to start to cool down a little by little. So you start to get a little bit less instability, and the cap kind of builds in a little bit. Now, I say that, but we did look at some data which indicated that these storms down here, which actually weren't supposed to fire this early, they were supposed to hold off to about 9, 10, or 11 o'clock, and then these were going to move up north, and it was going to be quite a bit rainy from Oklahoma City Metro, kind of in this sweet spot here, where we might get some flash flooding. All right, so keep that in mind. That's still on the table later this evening, because these storms aren't moving all that fast. They're pretty slow. So they're already producing quite a bit of rain. And we can take a look and estimate how much rain has fallen already. So let's do that. Let's see if this will work. Yeah. All right. So what do we have here? Let's do the probe, and look at that, right through Oklahoma City. Oh, thank goodness we got some good rain out of this. So there's 2 inches of rain, 2.5 toward Mustang. There's 2.5. This little white area is 2 to 2.5 inches. Purple area is up around an inch into the reddish zone, which is about 1.5 inches or so. So there's a good swath. So that kind of goes to show you when these storms move through these little supercells, they can produce nice swaths of heavy rainfall. So that goes down here to Chickasha, Apache, Carnegie. So these little guys here did a good little number. So southwest Oklahoma, I mean, you guys were hurting down there for some rain towards Snyder and Frederick, so at least you got some between you and Lawton. And then that little batch up here from Canadian County to Kingfisher, and then northeast toward Guthrie. You guys got some good rain up here for Stillwater. Points south up to about 2 inches in some cases, so there you go. One report there of some, looks like a wind gusts around 59 miles per hour. There's some good rain now heading up to Cleveland, so that's just a good rainmaker. And then you got the guy up here, Red Rock, little skinny dude, up toward Schindler, and then it also has little pockets here, about 1 inch of rain. So these supercells, even though they can sometimes bring the threat of hail and tornadoes if all things go well, they also produce some much needed rain. So, good deal. All right, let me take a look at the wind fields here. So the shear is still great for these supercells to maintain their intensity here in the metro area. Again, for the tornado threat, they needed to have more of a southeastward wind right here, but they didn't have it. They had a south wind. But if they had a southeast wind, I think things would be a lot different. It would have been a lot easier to get that tornado to develop and make it maybe just a little stronger. So that's just one little component that was missing, just one little one. All right, so Weather Service is discussing this storm on the east again, saying that the convergence has gotten a little bit better. So let's go take a look at it. So from the standpoint of the velocity data, this little convergence zone in here, I guess, is what they're going to watch for. Let's go look at another radar view because that one doesn't really show much. Oh, this is just a mess. These storms have all convoluted into one another. Well, what happened to this one in Blanchard? It just really kind of fell apart. Yeah, it's not doing anything. Okay. This guy here on the north end, it's got some wind with it. That's about 55 miles per hour, a little blue spot. Teeny tiny, heading to the west side of Norman. All right, let's go back up the road here to Midwest City. Anything up in here? No. This little guy between Choctaw and Tinker, little convergence, but otherwise that's nothing really exciting. All right, and that's it. Probability of a tornado that went up to 91%. So this algorithm has got some problems. I don't know what it's thinking, but so regardless, there's gonna be a new tornado warning for this storm. Let's see here. Let's go to this guy because this might have a little better view. It's a little closer. Okay, so this will be south of Choctaw. This is going to be on that little convergence line that we looked at. All right, this is just a just-in-case preliminary type deal. There's your red box just came up. All right, so ping pong ball size hail and potential tornado. All right, so Interstate 40 between mile markers 163 and 164, and Interstate 240 near mile marker 16. Otherwise, same communities: Oklahoma City, Midwest City, Shawnee, Choctaw, Hara, McLeod, Spencer, Jones, Nakoma Park. And we shall just kind of see if this thing wraps up. Let's do this and I'll show you the big picture. And we'll put a little storm track on it for you. Hara 8:29, Meeker at 9 o'clock. Alright, moving to the east at 28 miles per hour. Radar indicated rotation. Hail size about 1.5 inches. So that's hen egg size. So hen egg size 1.5 inches. Golf ball 1.75. Quarter size, etc. about 1 inch. Let's see. Alright, so let's take a look at some data. Let's look at the azimuthal shear. Oh, that's a hideous product. So let's not look at that. All right, no gate to gate. Not surprising since there is no gate to gate on the velocity data. Just a general convergence zone. I'll show you the convergence zone. It's just so bad. North Indian Meridian Road and East Reno Road. So there's your convergence zone of really, really weak winds. So at that point, you probably have your little lowering of just either scud and or really ragged, ill-defined, slow-moving wall cloud. That's about the most you'll get out of that structure. So this is going to be on the South Choctaw itself, just a couple miles, and southwest of Hara, a couple miles, just from where the county or the city denotes the population center, where it puts the label of your city and town. But like we said, it's near Triple X Road and Reno, I believe. Yep. So that would be the location should a tornado develop in that area. All right, you guys here in Norman, you're getting a nice, good thunderstorm rolling through. So you got that going for you. And here's that wind coming in. What's that? 55 miles per hour? Let me see if the terminal Doppler weather radar says similar. Yeah. Yeah, there's a little bit of wind with this. It's not bad. It's up around 50 to 55. So, remember, severe thunderstorm criteria is around 58. Has almost a little bit of a downdraft appearance.
There are no storms present.
So, this is winds kind of blowing toward, winds kind of blowing away. And those winds are up around 60 now. So, about 60 mile per hour winds on the northwest side of Norman along, looks like a creek. I'll tell you, that's along Rock Creek Road. Let's get you another intersection here. Priestley Avenue, and then Goodard Avenue, a little housing addition, right along 12th Avenue Northwest. You see these little new scales that just came in? So that's 68 miles per hour now. So it's pretty significant. So let's go to this guy, turn him off, turn him on, and let's do base velocity. And let's go zoom into that for you, since you guys in Norman are getting a little bit of wind here in the pink area. Alright, so your most wind coming in Norman is 12th Avenue, Northwest, North Flood, Goddard, Lexington, Mendel, Pasture Avenue, all the way down here to Robinson Street. And if you look anywhere in here, you're looking at there's 60, 55, 61, 68, 69, 68 miles per hour. Seems to be there's 69, 59, 58, 59. So there you go. 50 to 60 to 70 mile per hour winds in this little stretch right here coming into the northwest side of Norman. So no tornado, just a little bit of wind with this, a little downdraft from the storm. So there you go. That's what's happening right now with that. And go back while we're looking at that for a minute. Let me go look here. There are reports of power flashes now in Norman. So Weather Service just now mentioned this wind showing up on the terminal Doppler weather radar. So just to let you know, they're doing exactly what I do. They have numerous radars pulled up, multiple screens like I do, and they just flip back and forth between. They usually have one or two severe warning coordinating meteorologists. Depends on how busy the day is and how many storms are expected to be. So this day like this, probably have two, and they may split sections. You know, I'll cover northern half of Oklahoma, you cover southern half, or maybe I'll cover Metro, you cover the southwest Oklahoma. So that they're not overtaxed on too many eyeballs watching, too many different ways. I got to do it all, so it's a little more taxing for me. But that's what they do, and then they once they interrogate the storm, then they issue the warning for it, and then we go from there. All right, so that was painting on some new data. So let's see here. So all it's done is just shifted east a bit. So let's see. We're still running on Tecumseh. So now we're at Tecumseh Road, this little neighborhood up here north near Timber. This is all going to be now east of 12th and west of Porter. So bounded between that square mile down to Rock Creek Road, and then a little bit past there toward Robinson. So these are the strongest winds in this part of Norman. So there's 69. So there's 70 mile per hour winds, 62, 69, 61. So those are some damaging winds. Now, remember, a weak tornado can be up to 80 mile per hour winds. So it's kind of like having a weak tornado. It's just over a long stretch of real estate versus just a little, 100 yards or 300 yards or something like that. So that is the story right now. This thing in Hera, no, and then this thing up here in Choctaw, north of Choctaw. This one's getting a little bit better organized as far as rotation couplet goes. So it's probably going to be time here to take a look at that here in a second. So why don't we do that? So let's do double duty here. All right. All right, that radar update is coming in. All right, well that's coming in. Let's do this again. Okay, so no new data there. Let's go here. Just came in as I was about to click on it. So those winds have come down a little bit by magnitude of about 10 miles per hour here on 77. So it's in Norman and east of Tecumseh. That's the intersection where the strongest winds are, and they're up about 58 now. So they've come down about 10 to 12 miles per hour. So we're going to go back to this guy up here in Hera and north. There's a little area here that is a little suspicious. So it could be a potential tornado here in Hera that is developing. Now Hera, you should already be in your shelter, but this little convergence is increased here a little bit. So be in your shelter if you live in Hera for a potential tornado on this little hook spot that's just developed. The radar isn't all that impressive, but there is a weak circulation center there. So just, you should already be in your shelters anyway because you're in the middle of a tornado warning. But this is the first time on radar there's maybe any semblance of one. Looking at a couple different ones, it's still very, very weak, but that's the general area, and it's right over Hera. So it's right at the split, 270 and 62, so it's right through town. Now, there's a secondary region of circulation that caught my attention. This is the one that's northwest of Hera, northeast of Choctaw. And it, on this last scan, just increased a little bit more. Let's go back. So there's a scan before and before. See that? So in this scan, it started to get a little closer in, and now this scan is a little tighter in. So if the next scan comes in a little bit tighter, the radar may trigger a TVS for that spot. Otherwise, same thing kind of for Hera, just not quite as pretty as that, but same principle, same idea. So guys, be in your shelters, just stay there. It'll be over with soon. Let's see, this is a storm in Norman, producing the winds, still going. You guys know the drill down here. Let's see, like I said, the winds are now up around 60. They've dropped quite a bit. There's 62. There's a little spot there, 66. There's still some good wind there. All right, and then up here, and these winds. So these are all in the 20s to 30s, outbound 30s. So this is where your circulation center is. Now this radar isn't as tightly confined as the other one. But let's go with the intersection. This is going to be on Northeast 50th Street and just east of XXX. So XXX and 50th is location. So this data just came in. This is quite a bit stronger in intensity, a better well-defined couplet. North Peebly Road and Northeast 50th. So that's where this potential tornado is going to be located. So this may be our secondary one. There may have been a little weak one that tried to get going over Hera. So right now that's what we got going on with those two guys. Okay, let's switch over. And that weakened there. These are very transient. They're there 1 minute and gone the next. Okay, so let's go back to this guy. So this is still there here on this scan. But the hair never really got very well defined. Alright, so we're just going to sit here for a minute and see what happens out of these two little weak areas of rotation. And could be nothing. I mean, they've been having a tough time as it is. So we've hit really low light. So it's still a nice looking sunset, but the sun has now gone below the horizon. So that's going to be a problem for visual on the live feeds. It's just going to be really hard to see. So this is going to be a radar game at this point forward.
There are storm cells presently in your area of interest.
Alright. Oh, there's a tornado warning, looks like, southwest Oklahoma. So, let's zip on down. We'll take a look at that. While we wait to see if anything happens on the east side of Oklahoma County. And we're going to switch radar sources for this one. Alright, this will be over Lawton. So we have ourselves a little supercell that's developed a little hook echo to it. Path on this is Lawton at 8:43. It's about 10 minutes. Make sure you're in your shelters. Sterling at 9:08. Rush Springs at 9:27. Radar indicated potential tornadic development. We got for the storm itself, Lawton, Elgin, Fletcher, Sterling, Eastern Fort Sill, and Central High, moving northeast at 37 miles per hour. If you zoom in here, it's got a little bit of hail on the west side of Lawton by about, 5 miles on the west side of town. Let's see what we have here. South 82nd Street. What's the other intersection? Can you give me a street up here, buddy? No? I'll see how it is. What about there? No? Okay. So funny how some of these streets will show up and others won't. There's Southwest Lee. So there's a corner. Southwest Lee and Southwest 82nd. Alright. This little guy here is where the hook echo is. Let's see what the velocity data looks like. Just very, very weak convergence there. Let's go here. Yep, it's okay. So, any at all wind shear? No, very little. Alright, this is a very early preliminary warning. Probably the tornado is only 31%, so it's probably an idea is just in case it decides to strengthen to the point where it would produce a tornado. Not now, but by the time it got to Lawton, that's 10 minutes from now, maybe these things will change. Therefore, you already have the tornado warning in place. You're not waiting until it produces it to produce the tornado warning, and then therefore it's too late. So, hence the heads up on the Lawton area. So, storm's got a ways to go to make that happen. Will it do it by the time it hits town or just east of town is to be seen. But be in your shelters for that, so you don't have to worry about it. Alright, so that's down there in southwest Oklahoma. There's other storms down here across Texas. No big deal down there. And let's go up here. Chickasha, get no big deal. Little pockets of hail here and there. Alright, let me go back to home. See what's going on in McLeod and Hera. Just not much. So that's fine with me. Alright, zip on down here to Norman. Still quite a bit of wind. Nice little downburst signature. And that's right over the Elm Creek Stream and East Franklin Road. So, pretty good pocket of wind going on down there. Alright. And that's about it. Alright. What else we got? No? Well, since I've been on, we had one tornado touchdown, and that was it. Since then, we just had a supercells with occasional wall clouds and scud and rotation, all that kind of stuff. Let me see. Let me see what else we got going on here. So, Storm Prediction Center has mentioned the fact the storms are struggling a little bit because they have marginal low and mid-level lapse rates, only 6 to 7 degrees per Celsius, but just enough to give a Cape 5 around 1200. So low Cape, kind of a higher shear environment. You can get tornadoes in that environment, they're just not as common. Let's see. The tornado potential should continue to wane as surface cooling takes place, but still holding in there until about 9 o'clock. And then just some more convection overnight. So that's the latest with that. Let's go to Let's do this. So this is the balloon sounding from Norman earlier this evening. So some decent shear here at 300. Cape value, actually, believe it or not, was still pretty good. No cap in place. Significant hail 1.4. That went up quite a bit. It was 0.8 earlier. Lapse rate's still only 5, 6 to 7. Let's see. So we got classic supercell structure, and the ship model for hail size is mostly around golf ball and smaller. So that didn't change. And photograph's okay. Got a little monkey business here in the middle. Kind of messes up the prettiness of it. But should have been enough to do the job. So the forecast is calling for a couple of tornadoes, and looks like we've had one. Best I can tell. Let's just take a look here. Cloud tops are cooling, or warming a bit, I should say, in this region. So in other words, the storms are weakening here and here. These are still okay in the south side of the metro, and then down south and west. But north and east of the metro, these have warmed a bit, which means they weakened. You can tell that by the color of the satellite. All right. Let's go. Short-term models still like the idea of a potential tornado in the same zone, but most of the storms have left the zone, so that doesn't do us any good. So you can't get a tornado if you don't have a storm. So even though the conditions are still there, you don't have a storm to go into. It doesn't mean anything. All right, let's go. What else? Let's look at the newest data for tonight. All right, the model's got that action here this evening. Here's midnight. There's 1 o'clock in the morning. Still a helicity track with this one, which would typically indicate hail at this time of night. Let's take a look here at the forecast. Still says marginal tornado, but there's a strong cap, so that's not going to happen. And then there's LCLs are way too high, so that's going to be a hail maker. All right, that moves through central Oklahoma again at 2 o'clock. And there's the cold front lighting up like a Christmas tree from Ponca City to Enid. 3 o'clock. And there's 4. It fizzles. It gets into the rain-cooled, stable air and falls apart. 6 a.m., there's where the front moves through Oklahoma City, brings a little bit of light rain with it. So we kind of talked about this in the forecast for the marathon runners, etc., depending on how early you get out. And then the front kind of clears the metro by, there's normally at 7 a.m., and then there's 8 o'clock is cleared on out, so hopefully a little bit of wet pavement, that's about it. And then models are going to try to start to produce more rain. There's some for Tulsa for lunchtime. And then here comes that secondary batch for lunchtime here in Oklahoma City, coming in from the south and west as those showers override the front. And some heavy rain at that. There's 2 o'clock. So on the south and east side of town, Norman, Moore, you guys get some good rainfall, that secondary batch. Maybe some light stuff here on the north and west side of town, because I got nothing at this. Man, I'm so hurting. Everything's going to die. I'm not even going to water. What's the point? I'm just going to give myself a $400 water bill and have nothing to show for it because the drought will win anyway, so I'll just let it go. Isn't that sad and depressing? Anyway, more storms in there in southeast Oklahoma, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, so 7. Let me see if any of these have anything to work with for severe weather ingredients. And they do. They actually have a southeast surface wind, really good directional shear. So there's a tornado threat down there in southeast Oklahoma. It's not an overly high one, but it's a low one, so you have to watch those storms down there late afternoon and evening. And those will move across Oklahoma, southeast Oklahoma during the evening, moving out of the metro and out of the state. So there you go. Let me look curious how much rain is estimated for all of this. Still going up around 4, 4.5 in some of the hard hit areas. Another 1.5 inches here tonight for central Oklahoma, for those of us lucky enough to get those storms to roll through. And that's it. So that's the high resolution data. All right, let's go back to the model, or to the radar here, see what's changed, if anything. So we'll take another view of everything there is to see. Alright, no. Alright, that radar doesn't show anything. Let's go to this one. Nope. There's a little convergence here, northeast of Dale. That's really sad. And then there's nothing there either. Alright, so this storm continues to weaken. It's all lined out, linear structure. There's nothing really to it. Let's go on the south end of it. Nothing real on the south end of it either. Okay, and then what do we got? Got this guy here, it's nothing. Alex, nothing there. Alright, that means southwest Oklahoma is what's left. So let's go down here and look for you guys in Lawton. Got the hail coming in on the north side of town. Where is this at? The biggest hail is northwest 22nd. Is there another street? Pine Creek, Lindsay Street, Lindsay Avenue. So anyway, northwest side there, just north 62 by a mile. All right, there is no really hook. It's just an elongated appendage. Looks like this, right? So nothing's going to happen in that design. Velocity doesn't show anything there. And velocity doesn't show anything there either. Wind shear, nothing. Alright, so that's good news for you guys in Lawton. Okay, so this particular case, if you're in the Lawton region, just hang in there for a little bit longer. You might get some big hail. The algorithms produce up to about 2 inches in diameter all of a sudden on the north side in that purple region we talked about. But there's no traumatic area of concern, so that's good news. The leading edge of the hail, etc. Let's see, of course it's already over Lawton. It's been that way. Now coming up to Sterling next, and then Rush Springs after that. Alright, so now let's go back to the metro, and we'll check out you guys around Shawnee and see if there's anything here. So this is a kind of a line echo wave pattern. So kind of like almost a mini squall line. It's a linear line. So you can't get your standard traditional supercell produced tornado out of that. It's not going to happen. But sometimes you can get a QLCS little baby tornado on the leading edge. So I'll take a look at that. Let's see here. Just a lot of downdraft winds with a lot of this stuff. That's it. All right, let's go check a look at this guy. See if we see anything. No, there's that one little spot right here I looked at earlier. If I go back a frame. Yeah, that's about it. Alright, well, it's officially dark and the radar is not really detecting much at this point in time. So the update on that warning, by the way, because I think that polygon box has changed a bit. So let's go up here and look. And I'll do a storm track on it for leading edge of just the front end of where the hail and stuff is. Meeker 855, Prague 920, and Payden at 933. Tornado warning officially until 9 o'clock, 10 more minutes, moving east at 30, and that's it. Alright, let's go back down to Lawton. That's the only storm that's really significant at this point in time. This hail core is right coming into downtown Lawton and on the north side. Woodridge, Mimosa, Rogers. Wait, did I say Mimosa? It sure did. I could use a Mimosa. Let's see here, 62 and 44. So that's the intersection of the biggest hail. And there's secondary pocket of hail over here on 6, right along State Highway 7, and then Southwest F Avenue and J Avenue, all those avenues. Whole alphabet of avenues. Just got a new update, so it means they dropped the hail core right along that side. Otherwise, the other hail core is expanded now north and east, right along, let's see, what road is this? Give me a road. You're not going to give me a road? You're not going to give me any of these roads. South Boundary Road, there's something. Alright, that's north and east side of town. Alright, so let's go, this little hook echo is where we would probably watch for new mesocyclone development. So let's see if we got anything down there. And, yeah. Yeah, we do. So this would be where the developing tornado would occur. So you're probably getting a wall cloud with this. So if we were going to get a tornado out of that, that's where that would location be. So this guy, he said he saw a slanted wall cloud, whatever that means, just to my south. So he's looking back here at this location. Ironically, just so you know, this is the polygon for the tornado warning, right? You notice this new circulation is not in the polygons. This is a lesson for you. Sometimes the storms will be just in or outside the polygon area because different things can happen structurally where an old circulation may die out, which was in the middle of the polygon. So for example, you know, it was located here, but then a new one develops and this new one is outside the polygon. So you just gotta pay attention when there's a storm in your area. Just find out where it is, the track and all that. Okay, so new little information here. So that's increased, looks like on the velocity side. A little bit. Okay. Probability of a tornado is at 12%. What did that say? Southeast 45th Street is the intersection of where this particular developing mesocyclone would be, and that's south of Bishop Road by about a mile. So while we're looking at that, let's go back into the Meeker area. See if we see anything here on radar. It's 2,000 feet. It's probably a little too high. QLCS tornadoes are a lot harder to see. They're better tracked down low. And they're not always detected by radar. Radar's gonna be pretty close. Let's see this guy here. He looks a little bit more hook echo-ish, but he's not doing anything at the current time. Okay, it's kind of like a little hybrid nonsense cell structure. Very convoluted. Alright, let's go to a different radar view. Maybe this one will tell me something. So, in this case, there's kind of, I'll give it 2 areas. Still watching this little spot here I picked up a while back, but there's just really not much there. It's a strong little outbound of wind around 47 miles per hour. That's about it. That's Hazeldale Road and Bryant Road. This is northwest of Johnson, south of Meeker. Meeker itself, you got a little broad rotation on the northwest side of town for you by about a mile northwest of you. So pretty much right in this little area right here. But it's not tight or too concerning, but that would be where it'd be located. So if you saw a little something swirling in the sky, that would be where it's coming from. All right, so we'll have to keep an eye on this stuff up here. Just right now, it's just not doing a whole lot on radar. And the tail end of this around pink. Meanwhile, the one down southwest, let's see what it's doing. This is the one that had the best probability of doing something. Okay, so here's an example. Remember how I told you that new mesocyclone was forming outside of the old one on the polygons? This was our original tornado warned storm, okay, polygon, and now look at the new one here. So this is going to be the new tornado warning that just came out to cover this new mesocyclone. This is the track. Marlow at 936, Bray at 951, moving to the northeast at 31 miles per hour, golf ball size hail, radar potential indicated tornado, and southeastern Lawton, Marlow, Rush Springs, Bray, and Central High for the storm itself. Alright, now we got that under control, out of the way. Let's go see what the structure looks like on the velocity data. Oh, still some pretty strong outbound wind here. What value is that? 74 miles per hour. That is significant. So let's see what the rotation aspect looks like. Still a little broad. It's not very tight on the north side of this couplet. But that would be right over Coombs Road. Southeast Coombs Road is where that potential location of that developing tornado would be, in Cortez Avenue. Coombs and Cortez. And 75th, Southeast 75th Street. So there you go. So we shall see if something comes of this, but that is the current location. Alright, how far away? me look up back up on the east side. Okay. Let's go back here southwest. This Alex storm may eventually try to structure itself a little bit better. Still has a few minutes left on the clock. Alright, and then down here, I'm 5,000 feet in the air over here at this point. It's too high. What am I here? I am at just 2,000 feet. So that's pretty good height to measure the developing tornado. All right, so that's down here in southwest Oklahoma. Let's go back up to the Meeker pink deal. So anytime you see these little inflow notches like this, sometimes it can be those QLCS tornadoes. Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes. All right, let's go to this guy. It's a pretty good little outbound wind here at about 61 miles per hour. So if you storm relative it though, it's 30 miles per hour inbound and 12 inbound, 30 outbound. It's very, very weak signatures for all this stuff. And it looks like they dropped the tornado warning. Yeah, they didn't reissue the tornado warning, it looks like. Let me make sure. Yeah, they dropped it. And it may eventually produce like a little baby tornado in that area, but right now it's just a one directional wind spot in the line. But that would be the favored region, and that is southeast of Meeker by about 2.5 miles, and that is on East Road 1060, and just east of North Road 3640. So 3640 and 1060 is about where that's located, and that is southeast of Meeker, almost halfway between Meeker and Prague. Not quite, about a third of the way. Probability of a tornado is 28% for what it's worth, and this tail end here, nothing. All right, anything down here? Nope. All right, let's see our guy down here in southwest Oklahoma, what it's doing. It's a nice little supercell. And actually, it has the better shot at any of them at this point because it's still in the favored region with the warmest temperatures. For example, it's 77 degrees in Duncan. We got a dew point of 61. Wind out of the southeast. So those are all more favorable conditions for developing a tornado than what we have going on here near Oklahoma City. So Meeker has power outages in town. We'll come back to this southwest Oklahoma here in a minute. Let's go back up here to Meeker.
All clear. There are no storms presently in your
So
area.
now we have a nice little wind. So that little batch of red was the straight line winds that went through, but oddly enough, they weren't that strong on radar. Only about 55. So I'm not sure exactly where the power outages are happening, but that's the strongest winds were. All right, any potential developing tornadic circulation, if there would even be one, is right along 62 and North Road 3470, which is about 4 miles east of Meeker for that little area there. And the one that was south of that is kind of falling apart. So that's the only thing going on in that region. That's it. By the way, Oklahoma City, we're good. I mean, we've got some rain south side of town. That's about all. A couple lightning strikes with it. And what about north? Anything? Northern Oklahoma, Bartlesville, just standard thunderstorm. No big deal. Probability of a tornado is 24%, so that's gone up a little bit since last time. See, there's our little circulation center, just pointed out. Algorithm just picked it up. East of Meeker, but it's not much. So we'll see if it does something. Probability of a tornado went down a little bit, 20%. All right, let's go back down to southwest Oklahoma. We got double storms over here. All right, so the one is now moved east and out of the Lawton area. Now pulling away. The what would be the tornadic circulation center will be coming up on Highway 7 and 65. But it's not doing much either. Just a hook. Let's see. It's got 77 over 62 feeding into it. There's 78 over 61. It's got the very last bit of instability in the state in that little section down here with southeast wind. This is as good as it's going to get. It won't get any better than this. It goes less and less from here on out. So if it's going to produce a tornado, it has to do it now, and it has to do it where it's currently located, or it doesn't have a chance. So this is a little rotation tracker down here east of Lawton for that new spot we're watching, this little red area. That's probably where it looked its best. It was in that little spot we covered a little while ago. And now it's in this region, it's not nearly as strong, so it's actually weakened. So it's doing the opposite of intensifying, it's weakening. Alright. I don't know, guys, it's just been kind of a marginal severe weather event. I mean, nothing we don't normally get in spring. Little pockets of wind and hail like we normally get. So unless you're outside playing in it, you know, it's usually not a big factor for most people. We have a couple of tornado warnings. One didn't pan out at all. One did briefly, but then never pan out after that fact. And we're still waiting to see if this new one, southwest Oklahoma, pans out. So we've probably had at least one official touchdown briefly. No report of damage or injuries, so that's good. So we're just kind of sitting here and babysitting, seeing if any of these decide to get out of control. This little guy used to Meeker still has a little weak convergence on the back end here. It's over, it looks like nothing. It's over trees. So there might be a farmhouse, hard to tell. And there's a couple little farmhouses here. Otherwise, it's just over a very lightly populated area. So, this guy on the tail end, south of Dale, is really trying to do something around Bethel Acres. But on the wind field, there's nothing to it. Reflectivity structure looks pretty decent, but velocity data is nothing right home about. Alright. This guy here is doing nothing. This one down here is the one to watch. I guess we'll watching both of these. Oh, let's see here. We'll do this one too. I'm just positioning our radars to look at some data. All right. Let's see if anything's changed in the development down here. Nope. All right. If these tornado warnings weren't officially in effect, I wouldn't even be on the air right now. You could tell because I'm literally almost bored because there's just nothing to talk about but just regular storms. Not that's a bad thing. I don't mind being bored. That means there's no tornadoes. I'm good with that. Let's see if we can't keep it that way. No whammies. All right. So I'm just sitting here and watching. I mean, there's nothing to tell you. I mean, if there were, I'd tell you. It's just sitting here and waiting. And if something happens, then it happens. Even this little dude used to Meeker is still not doing really anything. Very, very weak. I'm this close to calling it. I mean, I'm super this close because otherwise I just sit here. I stare at this, you stare at me. It's just a big staring contest. Oh, let's see. Let me jump down here to this other radar. So, potentially maybe doing live coverage tomorrow afternoon and evening for southeastern Oklahoma. 3,500 feet, 40 miles away. This is nothing. It's falling apart. All right, that's it. I'm calling it. I'm out. All right, so bottom line is, if you live in this tornado warning down here in southwest Oklahoma to Marlow to Rush Springs, stay in your shelters until the storm has passed. It just hasn't had any indication of producing a tornado at any point in time in a long time. So it may eventually, but right now it's not. It's got a ways to go to get its act back together. If that even happens. So we're getting into that 9 o'clock hour where the cat kind of builds in, so instability and all that kind of stuff diminishes, and it's just looking like not much of a big deal. So anyway, but use my weather app, AT's Weather to Go. Use your no weather radio. That way, if something were to happen in addition for the rest of this evening, wherever you live, you'll at least get notification that there's a storm. I'll try to watch things off and on here, but it looks like the tornado threat is pretty much over, and it's just going to be like random, maybe severe thunderstorm warnings, a little bit of pockets of wind and hail. That's about it. So that's kind of where things are right now. I appreciate you guys watching tonight. I know sometimes it gets like really relaxed. Like I'm just sitting here just going, and you're like, you really are calm for tornado warnings. I'm like, yeah, it's what I do. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for liking, sharing, telling your friends and family about this broadcast and how they can watch it. In theory, various social media channels, YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, and Facebook. I've been having some trouble off and on this spring. Part of it, some network issues with the other providers, those platforms, and others with my software and or hardware. So I've decided to kind of put some life into this machine I'm running on. So I've ordered a new motherboard and CPU, and so I'm going to kind of gut it a little bit, give it a little bit extra life, put on some new memory with that, and so that should resolve some of these little hiccups I've been having from age, and that ought to get me through this season, this year, and let the chip shortage sort itself out, and some new tech coming out this summer on the graphics card and on the motherboards and stuff, and let that get a little more mature, and then I'll just build a brand new box out of the gate for that. So this will buy me some time just to get me through this little hiccup part that I've been having here recently, which can be very annoying. You guys have no idea. So I'm still just looking at some data while I'm talking to you because I can't help it. All right, that's what I've got for you. Okay, so I'm out here for this evening. If it does look like another significant threat for tornado is going to happen, I'll do another live cut in for that. But something will have to change dramatically for that to occur. If it does, I'll be in again for that. Otherwise, I think that's it for me. More rain tonight in north and south and central with that front that comes in. And that clears us out in the morning hours, and some new stuff develops all afternoon over the southern southeastern third of Oklahoma. So it does kind of back up in Oklahoma City for a little bit, so we'll get a little bit of rain Sunday midday. Let's see, the marathon should be probably mostly dry, little wet, daybreak, and that's it. And then in the afternoon there'll be a little bit more rain that moves in, some light stuff, but that's about it. So it's not a terrible wind Sunday, but we do need more rain though, so can't really complain. All right, well, I'm out of here. Thanks again, guys. We will talk again soon. All right, take care. Good night.